I have deceived you. I have actually deceived you willfully, knowingly, and on purpose. What I did is actually, let's get this up on screen the other day. I posted this picture, this screenshot of Tim Wall's two clearly different dogs. I asked the question, what happened to Scout in 4 months? I knew what most of the answers would be. I knew that there would be a lot of confirmation bias on both Republican or right or Democrat or left side. I knew full well. And I did it willfully and willingly as a example. And those of you who fell for the example, I do apologize for that, but I needed to do this test. And I'll show you some other things in a few minutes. But, a lot of things that we do and we talk about are framed in our minds from different things like what we read, how we grew up, the environment that we work in, whether or not you get the idea. Our bias is based on those things. So this actually started when I posted back on October 13th, and here's a screenshot we're going to put up on for a couple of seconds right now too. The 13th I posted, "We live in a world where good deeds have opportunity at every turn." So to give you an idea, that's where some of this thought was. The first post on this thought was, and I do hope that you're sticking with me. I do understand and know that a lot of you will take a few second clips like you always do and turn this into something that it absolutely isn't. And, whatever, that's on you, I guess. But it actually, let's show this screenshot. It actually started on a conversation way back on October 7th. And I screenshotted this just today, this morning, on the 24th of October, Monday. And that's the Man in the Arena, I believe is the name of this. And it talks about, go look it up. Theodore Roosevelt is the speech it came from. And it was based on some criticism that I got on some things. And criticism's fine, whatever. It is what it is, and I don't really care. But I have a philosophy of what Marie Curie had said. And I posted this actually back on April 20th of 2020. Let's take a look at this for a couple of seconds. "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." So that's my thoughts, my philosophy on this is let's understand more. And so 3 years ago in 2019, I actually set out to really understand more. I started a couple of different podcasts, and I still do podcasts. So if you have ever followed me for any length of time, you would understand that I say a few different things. One is do your own research. I always, not every episode, but I say it often. Do your own research. And so that means I do my own research. And part of that research has been different things in books that I've read over the years, and what Mere Christianity, that's one of them, C.S. Lewis, Jonathan Haidt, The Righteous Mind. Let me read this actually, the whole title, The Righteous Mind, Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion. Stephen King, The Cell, Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky. ULA, I don't know if you've ever heard of ULA, but this is ULA for Christians, and I'm actually in this book, so of course I've read it. Another, Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukinoff. I'm terrible at names. If you followed me, you know that. The Coddling of the American Mind, another one that I've read. And one of my biases is Dr. Scott Jensen. I've met him on many occasions, done some podcasts with him. Relationships Matter, his book there, and of course the Bible. Read that a lot, read different parts and passages over the years, and really tried to understand it more. And back in March of 21, I posted this from Denzel Washington. Some people will never like you because your spirit irritates their demons. Let's throw that up real quick. And Denzel Washington said that. And I did this to irritate your demons. I made this post on Tim Walz because it was an opportunity. I did look at it. I did notice that it was probably fake. I knew that it was probably taken out of context. And I did it as how Albert Einstein would say. This is a screenshot that I also took. I saved this as part of the thought process in this whole setup, if you will. The significant problems we face today cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. One thing I really want you to notice is I did not make the Tim Walz Scout Dog meme, which I was viciously accused of doing. I want you to note on these things that I have shared that I put my name on them. Matt Logan Speaks or Matt Logan Official, but my name's on them if I make them. And I do the research as best I can to see who said it, and I give them the credit for it. I don't take it as my own credit, and I don't do all these other things. Back on October 9th in this process, let's show this real quick. This is something, let me show you what clickbait is. Marvel's shocking new X-Men movie reveal. I mean, this was nothing. This was weird, and I didn't even actually honestly click on this. I already knew the answer. So these are the weird things. Here's Padme is gross, actually. Here's the things that I'm talking about. J-Law confirms what we suspected about Leo on set. I mean, this stuff is just hyperbolic nonsense, and it's clickbait to get you to click on an ad. And I'm sorry, but not sorry that I used you to get this point across. See, I've been criticized like crazy over the years. I've been criticized about the work that I do on distracted driving because of the loss of my daughter. Viciously, frankly, and some of the things that I have been called and that have been said have been just blatant, weird, out-of-line things. One of the criticisms that I receive is that I pick on the Democrats, and I think I might start really actually picking on the Democrats because of just clearly what has been revealed through this. It's pretty interesting. I saw something that was defaced. It was a Dr. Scott Jensen and Matt Burke sign. And that meant that sign was on somebody's property, right? Somebody went and defaced it. And I could not believe the cheers that were coming from what would be called the Democrats or the left or liberal or progressive or whatever, and cheering that on and saying that they should be, all of them should be defaced essentially like that. And quite honestly, it was disgusting. But then the Democrats and the left, when I posted this about Tim Walz, when quite frankly clearly was fake, clearly that they're not going to make that media fumble that blatantly and that obviously, at least I wouldn't think so. And so to go along and point out the way that I think, I did this post a few days ago and set up to, not the Tim Walz, but the setup to the post that I just showed you, or the screenshots I just showed you on the hyperbolic clickbait links that we see all of the time. So I post this. It seems everyone needs a boogeyman. It's the guns, it's climate change, it's Trump, it's Biden, you get the point. The sooner we realize that we are our own worst boogeyman, the sooner we can curb this bias that we all have. We're never going to achieve utopia on Earth. We must figure out ways to get along while we live on this planet. I say get up and try. Be shiny. Obviously, if you followed me for very long, you know what be shiny is. But get up and try. We must get up and try over and over and over again to get along at some fashion. We're never going to achieve utopia. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. We're never going to all agree on everything at the same time 100% of the time. let me give you an example in my own life. A year ago, actually a little more than a year ago, because it's not November yet, I was challenged to the No Shave November by a gentleman who actually lives, or let me clarify that, lived in Washington, who is now dead. Might make a different video on that later, at a later date, but died in his sleep about my age. So at any rate, I digress. But he challenged me on that No Shave November thing, and I had said I would never do it. I don't like facial hair and all those things, and well, my thinking evolved. I tried it, I did it, and I've had a beard ever since. That's obvious. That is something that, yeah, it's fine to try new things and challenge the way that we think, but we can only do the really hard challenges when we sit down across the table from each other. And that leads me to what I have done and what I have tried to do diligently over the past 3 years since I've been doing the podcasts is invite people to sit down across the table, ask each other questions, get to some, actually what I call it is to have good faith conversations, solution-based conversations, so that we can come to some sort of understanding, even to agree to disagree. You'll never be criticized by someone who is doing more than you. You'll always be criticized by someone doing less. Remember that, said Denzel Washington. It's a good reminder. I think it's true. I think it's extremely true. Some of you have gleefully said no. I won't sit down and talk with you. Some of you have said no with prejudice. And I mean, you've called me all sorts of names. And wow, you're adults? It's interesting. Have I had more right-leaning Republicans on the podcast? Yes, I have. Why? Do you want to know why? I'm going to tell you why. The reason being is because they said yes. I have literally asked nearly 1,000 people to come on the podcast, to sit down across the table from me and ask each other questions. And you know who says yes the most? Republicans. Right side of the aisle, conservatives, whatever you want to label them. My bias is more right. It is more conservative. I'll do a video on that at another day. I've got a lot of it written out and thought process through that. My bias is Dr. Scott Jensen. I don't care much for Tim Walz. That's not personal. I mean his policies. I don't think he's made some very good decisions in the past 4 years, or nearly 4 years. He's been the governor of Minnesota. I like some of Scott Jensen's ideas. Not every single one of them. I don't agree 100%. Of course we're not going to agree 100%. I just gave you the beard analogy. If you would have asked me a year ago, literally today, I would have said I'll never have a beard, and here we are. I think you get the point. I've had about 20 episodes recorded, and the people have said, I don't want it aired, and I have graciously said, okay. And I do mean graciously, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe if you're willing to come and sit down, go on camera and have these conversations, that I should hold back. But I did. As per requested the people, I didn't air those podcasts. I'm not saying that, whatever, you get the idea. People, we must do better. We must figure out how to have conversation. Yes, some Democrats are going to win, some Republicans are going to win, and some of us aren't going to like it. But our neighbors, our friends, our relatives, we have to have conversations. We have to understand that we can get along and not hate each other just because we hate what someone's maybe said or their political views. It's very different than that. Can we do better, please? Thank you for listening. I would like to ask you to share this, but I also did a video on Scared of the Share a couple of years ago, because I talked to so many people that they don't want to deal with the criticism that I've dealt with, and I get that. So share it if you want, but thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.